take care of you. I will take you to a place where there's no time, no space. I could be your private island on a different planet. Anything could happen.
Alright guys, so jumping right in, I'm going to go ahead and moisturize my lips, and I want to go ahead and apologize in advance if I butcher some of these names of these eyeshadows, because I feel like I will. And I'm going to start off by priming my eyes using MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. It's a pretty light shade, so it'll make sure that all the colors really show up their true color without any influence of my brown skin, if that makes any sense for anybody that might have been wondering. So today I'm going to use the Magic by Juvias Place palette, and I'm going to take that first shade in the color Nana. It's kind of like a brown color. So on the second row, and it's the second color, and I'm just going to use that as my transition color. So I'm going to use a really fluffy brush to start out, and I'm going to use that to add shadow between where my concealer from my eyebrow stops and that MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot begins. So we're just going to blend that shade into there so that we don't have any harsh lines. And I'm going to go in with a more dense brush, and I'm going to also use this color as my crease color. I will be doing a kind of half cut crease today, so I just want to go ahead and define that crease area. I'm still using the same shade, but as you guys can see, a different brush makes a huge difference. So I'm going to go back into that soft ochre paint pot and use it to cut my crease. So since we're doing a half cut crease today, I'm not going to bring that color all the way to the end, but I am going to bring it about midway to my eyebrow. So I'm going to use that to cut the crease, and that pretty much just creates a defined line between my crease color and my lid color. So once I have that crease cut, I'm going to take the shade Zakiya, and it's kind of like a red-brown color, and it's right above Nana, and I'm just going to buff that into the end of my soft ochre paint pot. It's kind of difficult to explain, but if you guys can see what I'm doing, I'm pretty much applying that color where I stopped applying the soft ochre paint pot, so that we can kind of have a nice blend here, and it's kind of going to give the overall sunset look. So we do want the colors to kind of blend together just to give us that really seamless look, but try not to bring it as high as your transition color. It's okay if it overlaps with your crease color, but we don't want it to be all the way up there with your transition color. So try to really define where you want that color to lay, and using a smaller brush usually helps with this. I'm going to use my MAC Fix Plus to foil this eyeshadow, and I'm using the color Burono. It's a really pretty gold color, and it really makes this look pop. So I'm going to apply that exactly where I applied the soft ochre paint pot, in the inner portion of my eye and no higher. So if you guys look very closely, you can still see that transition color at the top, and that is exactly the look that I'm going for today. And I'm also going to bring that as far as the shade Zakiya, just so that we can have a really smooth gradient right there. So next I'm going to take some liquid eyeliner. I'm using the e.l.f. liquid eyeliner today. It's one of my favorite liquid eyeliners because it's super dark and it dries down matte. And I'm just going to create a little wing. So next I'm going to remove the tape from the corner of my eye and clean up any fallout that I may have had. This is the primary reason that I like to apply my eyeshadow before my foundation. Next I'm also going to apply my lashes off camera. I don't know which lashes these are, but I usually just go for like wispy lashes. So here you see me applying the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot as a base to my lower lash line. Try to apply it underneath your eyelashes so that you will still be able to apply mascara to your lower lashes later. But I'm going to go ahead and apply that and smooth it out with my finger. and take the shade Zakiya and use that to smoke out my lower lash line about 3/4 of the way, and then I'm going to take that shade Burono and apply that as kind of an inner corner highlight. So I'm also going to apply a nude liner, and this one is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Base Pencil. And I think it's actually for like a brow highlight, but I like to use it on my waterline. So if you guys have been watching my videos lately, then you've seen my foundation routine a million times, but I'm just going to throw it in here. This might be your first video, but I like to start off by color correcting using the LA Pro Concealer shade Orange, and I'm going to use that to combat any hyperpigmentation or discoloration on my face, which is usually around my mouth area and my cheekbones. Next, I'm going to take my favorite foundation, and it is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless foundation, and I'm going to apply that all over my face. And as you guys can see, that concealer really made a huge difference. Now my face is looking more flawless, and it's like an even color all the way around. So today I decided to contour using the LA Pro Concealer in the color Beautiful Bronze. Normally I do a powder contour, but for some reason I wasn't in that mind frame. So just went ahead and used this one. I like to use arrows kind of, or little lines, and I brush them up in the direction that I want the concealer to go, and that actually makes it a little bit easier to blend out. The color goes exactly where you want it to be. So I'm also going to use my Air Spun powder, and this is super affordable, and I like to use it to set my face. So I just tap it into my skin and really try to push it into my skin. I don't really like to let it sit on the surface. So initially I was going to do a brown lip, but I figured you really can't go wrong with a nude lip, so I'm just going to line my lips with my favorite lip liner, but you can really use any dark brown lip liner, and that is the Colourpop Pitch lip liner, and I'm going to use Colourpop's Ultra Matte Lipstick in the shade TimeSquare, and I'm just going to apply that. And I like to use the lip liner because the lip liner can make almost any color work. Without the lip liner, I would have looked absolutely crazy. I would have looked like a little crackhead walking around here. But with the lip liner, it makes a huge difference. So I'm just going to blend that color out. At one point, you're even going to see me use a brush just to like smudge the brown liner. It really makes a big difference, you guys. So you can absolutely leave this nude lip as is, but since we're going for like this sunset kind of glowy vibe, I decided to top this with a lip gloss from Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Gilded. It's a really, really pretty golden gloss, and I felt like it was super appropriate. So at this point we're almost done, but I couldn't skip highlighter, so I'm using the Wet n Wild highlighter in the shade Crown of My Canopy. This color is really pigmented and it was super cheap. I think these were like $3. So I'm just going to use my favorite highlighting brush from Real Techniques, and I'm going to highlight the typical areas, my cheekbones, the tip of my nose, the bridge of my nose, and then we are pretty much set. So lastly, I'm going to go ahead and set my face with the setting spray because we did not do all of this work just to let it wither away. So guys, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe.
Could be your fantasy.
Palettes floating around Instagram for quite a bit of time, but I was honestly a little bit skeptical to purchase one myself. Lucky for me, one of my friends actually purchased this palette and she was nice enough to let me borrow it so that I could really get a feel for the palette to decide whether or not I wanted to purchase it myself. Right off the bat, I was kind of skeptical, thinking it would be similar to the Coastal Scents palettes or the Morphe palettes. One thing that I can say is that this is one of the most pigmented palettes that I've ever tested out. The colors in this palette are really, really vivid and beautiful on brown skin. I know a lot of companies produce these mass eyeshadow palettes, and a lot of the colors you'll never touch because they just don't look right on your skin tone. Sometimes they're too chalky or sometimes they're too ashy. However, I feel like the color selection for this palette was like pretty A1 because I could see myself using all of the colors in this palette, and a lot of the colors in this palette I don't actually feel like I already own. So when my friend first showed me the palette, I was really gravitated toward this purple here. I'm not sure if it's picking up on camera, but it's actually more of like a lilac purple, but it's also iridescent. I feel like it's coming up more blue on camera. When she first showed me the palette, I fell in love with that color, and I've been looking for that color everywhere ever since, and I have yet to find it. So this is that shade that I was trying to describe to you guys. I'm not sure if you can really get the whole color payoff on camera. So another thing that I want to mention about these Juvia's Place palettes are the size of the pans. I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but these pans are pretty freaking big. So here's the size of a typical Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow, and here's the size of the Juvia's Place eyeshadow. So as you guys can tell, it's much, much larger than the regular standard eyeshadow size. I actually noticed that these eyeshadows are about the same size as my blushes that came in the BH Cosmetics 10 color palette professional blush. So I will say that I do feel like this palette is worth it as far as the price point goes, because you get 16 large eyeshadows and it retails for about $35. I believe my Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow retails for about $12 each. So already you're getting much more bang for your buck. As far as cons, I really only have one con, and that's really the amount of kickback that you get from these eyeshadows. However, if you don't care about kickback, then you're pretty good to go. I was expecting quite a bit of fallout based on the amount of kickback that I noticed, but I really didn't get any fallout at all, which honestly wouldn't have been a big deal to me because I do my eyeshadow before my foundation. But that's just something that I was looking for. Overall, I give this palette about a 9 out of 10, and I'm probably going to end up picking it up myself. However, the reason that I decided to give them a 9 instead of a 10 out of 10 is because these palettes are constantly going out of stock, so I know that I'm probably going to have a pretty hard time trying to get my hands on this palette myself. So if you were skeptical about purchasing the Juvia's Place palette, I do feel like it is worth the hype. Be sure to do some other research. Don't let this be your only source. But as far as my first impressions, that pretty much wraps this review up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this makeup look, and I hope you will subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys in my next upload.